TIY for PTSD. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Hey Cousins, hosted by Peaches from Peace, Love, and Light. Believe in yourself and all that you are. Know that there is something inside you that is greater than any obstacle. If you or someone you know has talked about or contemplated suicide, please call 988 and get help today. Did you know that nearly a century ago, PTSD was known as shell shock and combat fatigue? And it was a diagnosis commonly given to soldiers returning from the battlefields of World War I and World War II. As both doctors and scientists began to understand more about the condition, the name and diagnosis has changed drastically, and recent statistics show that in 2020, about 13 million Americans suffer from PTSD. Even the population most commonly diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder has changed. In fact, according to the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, 5 out of every 100 Americans have PTSD, and women are more likely to develop PTSD than men. Post-traumatic stress disorder is actually a blanket term because it is often used to describe a long list of symptoms and behavior patterns that are caused by being directly or indirectly impacted by an extremely tragic or life-threatening event. For some individuals that suffer from PTSD, the side effects can be very subtle, but for others, the symptoms can be debilitating and make even the simplest tasks seem impossible. While there is no cure for PTSD, there are numerous treatments and interventions that can help individuals manage their symptoms. The first step in managing the symptoms of PTSD is being properly diagnosed. Let's face it, trauma is common. And if you live in an area with high rates of poverty, crime, and drug abuse, there's a good chance that you encounter traumatic events on a regular basis. Some people have to endure numerous sessions with a therapist or psychiatrist before the event or events that are triggering PTSD can be identified. This unfolding can be traumatizing itself. The very thought of this grueling process is why many people suffer in silence and lack a proper diagnosis. It is also common to experience neurological changes that can lead to memory loss after a tragic event. Although there are many other contributing factors that make PTSD difficult to diagnose, there is plenty of scientific and medical research that supports the use of mind, body, and spirit practices like the poses and postures of yoga to treat the various symptoms most commonly associated with PTSD. Mind, body, and spirit practices are especially unique because they can be used without the need to relive the event that is creating the post-traumatic stress. In fact, trauma-informed yoga has even been used to treat PTSD in veterans and is recommended by the Wounded Warrior Project. Trauma-informed yoga helps to create a safe and relaxing environment by using techniques that have been adapted to reduce the heightened stop, fight, or flight response. In a traditional yoga class, an instructor will often combine verbal cues and physical touch while guiding their students into a pose. In a trauma-informed yoga class, or TIY, students are encouraged to move within their personal comfort levels, both mentally and physically. TIY instructors do not move around the room, so there is no intrusion on personal space. The postures used in a TIY class are also carefully crafted to avoid triggering trauma. It is now more accessible than ever, and insurance companies are even beginning to support the use of complementary and alternative therapies like yoga, water aerobics, massage, and acupuncture. If you are suffering from PTSD, there are many different paths of self-care and self-discovery that you could explore, and I encourage you to give trauma-informed yoga a try. If you find a class or a yoga studio, you may want to ask if they have a trauma-informed instructor before attending to ensure that you receive the best experience possible. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Hey Cousins, hosted by Peaches from Peace, Love, and Light. This show is sponsored by Sean Lee Jones and the Creative Healing Foundation. Make sure that you subscribe to this podcast to stay up to date with the latest and exclusive content. And if you would like to continue the conversation, Leave your thoughts, questions, and concerns in the comment section.